Very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all. And thank you for joining us, for today's webinar. My name is Disha Lakhanpal, and I am the Regional Marketing Manager for South Asia at Emerald Publishing. On behalf of Emerald Publishing, I extend a very warm welcome to our webinar, Engineering for Sustainable Development, Building a Better Tomorrow. Before we begin, some housekeeping tips. The orange arrow on your screen on the right is, there's a control panel, and the orange arrow will help you open and close it for a better view. You can change your audio option from your computer to your phone anytime that you want. All the audience members will be muted. I sincerely request all the attendees to please put your questions in the questions tab, and we will have time at the end of the session for some Q&A round. This session is being recorded, and all the attendees will receive a participation certificate as well as a recording link just 2 hours after the session is over. So without further ado, I would like to take a moment to introduce my incredible colleagues. We have tried our best to bring together an engaging and informative webinar to you. Joining me for this webinar today is Rosita Ji, our Regional Marketing Manager for East Asia.
Hello.
Thank you, Ji. Next, we have Amy Zhang, our Regional Marketing Manager for Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau, and Thailand.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Thank you, Amy. Now, next, we have Catherine Martinez, our Marketing Executive for Australasia.
Hello, everyone.
We all are incredibly passionate about the intersection of engineering and sustainability, and we are thrilled to have you on board. Before we dive into this exciting program, let me take you through a very, very quick look at today's agenda. We'll kick off with welcome and introduction of our two wonderful speakers, followed by the insights from the speakers Ben and Professor Singh, and then we'll open the floor for question and answers. Like I said, please post your questions in the questions tab, and you'll have an opportunity to engage directly with our experts, and then we'll finally conclude with some closing remarks. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Ben Ramster. Ben is the commissioning lead for ICE journals at Emerald Publishing and brings 2 decades of editorial operation experience to the table. Throughout his career, he has held key roles on international peer review editorial boards and has been instrumental in expanding ICE's journal offerings. Ben is a recognized expert in the field and has presented at prestigious events on topics such as author care, open access, and managing large volumes of submissions. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Ben Ramster. Ben, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. And I think, here we go, I've got presenter rights, great. And then a couple of buttons to click and one final button. Great, so I hope that you can now see slide number 1 and no
Yes.
notes, so it looks best for you. So thank you very much for that kind introduction, and thank you everyone for giving us your time today. As was mentioned, I'm commissioning lead at Emerald Publishing, and here is a picture of the ICE, the Institution of Civil Engineers, and this is the society which gives ICE Publishing its name. So here it is in central London with Big Ben in the background, and I'm speaking to you from East London today. So this is the name of this presentation, and you just heard a brief bio from me, but let me just expand that I have a biology degree and started my career at Elsevier before moving sideways to the pharmaceutical industry, and I'm very pleased to say I was at the ICE 2005 to 2023, so a long time, and now I'm very pleased to be part of the larger family at Emerald Publishing. So Emerald Publishing is very, very interested in the UN SDGs, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and this aligns with the ICE's institution strategic plan. So the ICE has a royal charter, and that requires the ICE to act at all times in the public interest. And climate change, which is represented by SDG 13, is a theme which runs throughout the ICE's strategy. And the ICE, of course, recognises that the most effective way to achieve its charitable aims is by supporting the 17 SDGs, and that's why we're focusing this event on them. So this corporate message from the institution, which gives ICE Publishing its name, was repeated by David Porter, ICE Vice President for the Learning Society, in this magazine article in NCE here in the UK. And then it has, it's a very important message, so you will see it rippling throughout ICE activities. So here is in the UK the Climate Change Committee, and pictured on screen we have fellows of the ICE, Professor Richard Dawson, who is a member of this committee, and Professor Jim Hall, who is the ICE's incoming president, beginning his term in November 2024. And this interest at the ICE in the UN SDGs circles back to Emerald Publishing's focus on the topic. So here we have a screen grab of an Emerald Publishing mission, and you can see I've highlighted number 13, climate action, here. This is a past mission on responsible management, and missions are a way that Emerald promotes content. So you will hear from the team who's putting on this webinar today mention of missions and goals, which are interdisciplinary, cross-journal, and you will see us contacting you with articles that we think you'll find of interest. Part of my job as commissioning lead is to track the publishing operation, and here we have UN SDGs at ICE Publishing by incidents, and these are chosen by our authors as keywords for their articles. So if you write for us, you will see that at initial submission. And being a civil engineering publisher, it's probably not a huge surprise that at ICE Publishing we most often cover numbers 9 and 11, innovation and sustainable cities. And here are those SDGs represented as a picture. So we publish 3, 6 articles on 3, 6, 7, 9, 11, 12 and 13 most often. And the IC president, past president that we just saw a moment ago, said in his address, it is clear that decarbonising and improving productivity in our industry should lead to multiple benefits. We will need fewer resources in the future. We will need to produce less waste, work more efficiently, and produce less CO2, enabling the profession to make a significant sustainable contribution to addressing the climate emergency. And being realistic, we know that we have to bring industry with research and with good aims. And so the president said, hopefully in doing so, we can also generate better bottom lines for industry. And let's circle again back a second time to Emerald Publishing's theme to produce mission-led real-world impact. So that was the first part of my presentation. I'd now like to pick out 2 IC Publishing journal papers as examples. Oh, okay, so 3. Here is a recent example of sustainable drainage to address Zika virus. And this is, as I said a moment ago, my role to track UN SDGs. So as of May 2024 this year, we had published journal articles that had tagged UN SDGs over 500 times, and you can see that this is simply going to grow month on month as more authors write for us on this topic. Okay, so the promised 2 examples. If you have ever been to Cumbria in northern England, you will be familiar with the real-world impact of Broome Castle Bridge. This is a 200-year-old masonry arch bridge which allows residents of one town in England to travel the River Amont to the other side and vice versa. But unfortunately, due to the climate challenge, we are experiencing in the UK more severe winter flooding. And in January 2025, this town in Cumbria experienced severe winter flooding, and sadly the bridge partially collapsed. So in 2019, ICE Publishing received as at initial submission and peer reviewed and then accepted the paper of Broome Castle Bridge's renovation. Cumbria County Council, the local authority, paid a UK structural design firm £1.15 million to conduct repairs. And following peer review, this paper, which was written, as so often is the case at ICE Publishing, by co-authors from research partnering with co-authors from industry, this paper entered the International Research Literature Record with us. So Broome Castle Bridge's renovation benefited society. The people who wish to travel from one town, Penrith, to the other side, Appleby, would support that. And it is hoped that this paper will inform future renovation projects. And here is the resulting paper in our journal, Engineering, History and Heritage. Let me check my time. Good for time. Okay, so my final example. Here we have the paper published in ICE member journal Civil Engineering on Rutaka Footbridge in Rwanda. So this paper describes that the project that in the Nyargarko River in Rwanda, this river serves 10,000 people living west of the country's capital, Kigali. And each rainy season, this river swells to 3 times its normal size. And sadly, from 2013 to 2016, 4 people died attempting to cross it when it was at its most dangerous winter height. In 2017, USA charity Bridges to Prosperity partnered with UK civil engineering firm Balfour Beatty and Mott MacDonald to build a 40-metre suspended footbridge across the gorge. And here we have a actual figure 9 from the journal paper. So by providing safe year-round access to employment, markets, healthcare and schools in the community, this bridge contributes to 7 of the 17 UN SDGs. And today, the local community in this town oversees the bridge's maintenance. So in 2019, ICE Publishing featured this paper, which we just saw a moment ago, of the Rutaka Footbridge project as part of its real-world impact mission-led research program. And in 2020, this paper won an ICE Best Paper Award. And this is a photograph from the Great Hall at the ICE, which we saw in my very first slide, with not this paper's winners, but a photograph from the annual awards ceremony, which celebrates our best papers. Okay, so thank you very much for listening to me. I think I press the escape button now, and let's see what happens. So I'd like to hand over to, I think, Disha or straight to Professor Singh.
It's me, Ben. I'll carry on. Thank you so much, Ben, for that insightful presentation. Such good things coming out from ICE journals, the kind of impact that we're making. But now it's time for me. I take a huge pleasure in introducing our second esteemed speaker, Professor D.N. Singh. Professor Singh is a distinguished faculty member at the Department of Civil Engineering at the Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Bombay. His prolific career boasts 269 articles, 42 doctoral dissertations, and 29 patents, all of which have made significant contributions to the field of geotechnical engineering. Please join me in welcoming Professor D.N. Singh. Sir, looking forward to hearing, your thoughts.
Thank you.
You can see your screen, sir.
Yeah. My screen is up, and I can close this. Yeah, fine. So thank you, Disha. Thank you, other colleagues, and of course, Ben, and all those who have joined this talk, which I am giving through the platform of Emerald ICE. Thank you very much. In fact, I wanted to speak out my heart and mind that what it took to create this journal. I happen to be the founding editor-in-chief of Environmental Geotechnics through ICE. And I will take you through a brief journey of how this idea was conceived, what all has gone through in the process, and where we are today. So I'm a professor at IIT Bombay, Department of Civil Engineering, with my major in geotechnical engineering. And about 15 years back, I shifted my focus on environment and how the environment influences the practice of geotechnical engineering. Civil engineering is a very big domain and very difficult to fathom it in one's lifetime, I would say. So please excuse me for limiting myself and my knowledge only to the geotechnical engineering and geoenvironmental engineering, which happens to be my passion. And I would like to do justice in a couple of minutes related to how sustainable development goals are being used by civil engineers and how it is shaping up the overall situation. What are the challenges and opportunities? So first of all, to begin with, United Nations declared 21st June, that is today, as the International Day of Yoga. And this is what I thought I should congratulate all of you. My best wishes for this day, which also talks about the yoga for self and society. This is one part of the SDGs. If you must have realized that basically this is for the betterment of the society. So this is the old Indian tradition, which is now becoming very, very contemporary, adoptable. I'm a civil engineer, so I would take you through the journey of how transformation has occurred in the recent past. A couple of tens of years back, civil engineering was supposed to be only for designing and construction of the public works. But in the recent times, what we have observed is the role has changed to practice of maintaining and improving and safeguarding the natural environment. Now, when I say natural environment is something like this, which I have depicted over here, it's a serene atmospheric situation which has been shown, clean water, you can see the greenery, you can see the beautiful landscape. This is what nature gave to us. And unfortunately, over a period of time, what has happened? We have spoiled it. Not to blame anyone else except for ourselves. And this is where the civil engineer's job becomes very handy and very, very pertinent. So civil engineers are the architect of the quality of life. We are looking for the quality in life, for the present and the future generations to follow against the Anthropocene epoch. Professor Koda from University of Warsaw has launched a special theme issue on waste management in Anthropocene epoch. Anthropocene epoch is something which is prevailing today because of the changes which have occurred over a period of time. This could be tens of years, hundreds of years, or even thousands of years. So to cut short the story, I've used the word Anthropocene epoch, which describes what are the challenges and what is the way forward for sustainable development. Due to the human interventions, look at this, what has happened. We have created a big mess all around. We have piles of the waste, piles of the tires. Our chimney stacks are emitting carbon dioxide, which is bothering everybody. We have the mineral processing units, which are producing a lot of minerals, which are being disposed in the open atmosphere, and they have their role to play in terms of contamination of the environment. Of course, we produce a lot of industrial waste, which is lying unutilized here and there. So all these situations are creating an example of social issues, legal issues, geopolitical issues, financial issues, and technical issues. So the way I perceive is today's civil engineering is no more what it used to be about 10, 20, 30 years back. Because of the Anthropocene chaos which has been created, the profession is now delving into all these aspects. You cannot ignore the society. When we talk about the development, the legal issues come in front. Then the geopolitical situations. I'm sure everybody is aware of what's happening in terms of CCUS and carbon capture, utilization. We are having COPs every year attended by the chiefs of the states, nations, and so on. And of course, the financial matters and the technical issues. So when we talk about all these things, you realize that most of the SDGs get covered under these heads. Now, let me introduce you to the journal Environmental Geotechnics, what our activities are. So this journal was conceived with an idea during 2010 when one of my PhD scholars, Dr. Uday Kala, who said that you should be starting your own journal. I said it's a very tough task, but anyway, it went on and on and on, and ultimately in 2014, we came out with the first volume of Environmental Geotechnics. And that time, we were publishing 4 volumes per year. And the whole idea was that we are going to deal with the problems which are going to give a new perspective in the geo-environmental engineering training, knowledge sharing, education, practice, and research. So to begin with, the scope of the journal was very, very limited. At that time, we were talking about only geomaterial contaminant interaction. And why it was so? Because we were trying to sort out the issues like unscientific disposal and storage of effluents, which are coming out of the industries. Now, these effluents could be solids, gaseous phase, or the liquids. I call them as bad products from the industry. And the attributes of these bad products are they could be radioactive, they could be chemically active, they could be biologically active, and they could be thermally active also in the geomicrobiosphere. Geomicrobiosphere takes care of the entire system in which we are living. At that time, SDGs were not non-existent, and because they came into the picture in 2015. And then what happens is that we kept on changing the course of our thought process. Environmental geotechnics kept on evolving all through. And since then, till date, now from 4 volumes per year, we have gone to 9 volumes per year, courtesy SDGs, because now we are realizing that we have a bigger role to play as far as the sustainability and the sustenance of the human population is concerned. So our motto was at that time, curate the creativity. What is creativity? I'm sure these type of figures would, ignite your minds that I can enhance the efficiency of a process just by a simple change of the design. Look at this picture, which tells that we can use artificial hands to make the population of any country, comfortable. These artificial hands are making the population comfortable. hands are of the researchers, the administrators, the policymakers who are creating laws, bylaws for environmental protection. We were also motivated by the fact that if you are comfortable with whatever you are doing, then you can't grow. So getting comfortable with the uncomfortable is the only way to come out of the situation in the real life. So this was the motto of the journal, and we are still continuing it, courtesy my editorial board members, the reviewers, the administrators of the journal who are helping me day in, day out, from ICE, now from Emerald. This all credit goes to everybody. The way I perceive it is that environmental geotechnics is a cross-disciplinary topic or a theme. Unless we talk to each other, different sections of the society, this theme cannot be pursued. And that was the only reason I told you that we are talking about the social issues, technical issues, geopolitical issues, financial issues, everything put together. Whatever we are doing is for the sake of the humanity. So what I see is that basic sciences are playing a very important role. Chemical engineering, geochemistry, hydrogeology, climatology, then soil science, soil engineering, soil technology. You just name it. Every subject will fall over here. Microgeology, geohydrology, mechanics, bacteriology, biology, toxicology, thermodynamics, geo and petrophysics, rheology, then electronics, MEMS, sensors and communications, material science. Of course, the recent trend is artificial intelligence, machine learning, systems. Of course, intentionally or unintentionally, if I have limited this matrix to some of the subjects, please excuse me, because you must have realized that the social sciences, life sciences, biosciences, all are included in this, and that's the reason I have clubbed them under basic science. So, subject environmental geotechnics is becoming a cross-disciplinary subject, and what we require is we require the knowledge of everything, which is impossible. One person cannot have the background or sufficient knowledge for each of these subtopics, which are infinite. On the top of this, the way I am pursuing it is that sustainability and entrepreneurship is also becoming a very, very important subset of environmental where we are trying to talk about the circular economy, blockchain, marketplace. Remember, environmental geotechnics or technology is something beyond a course curriculum, something beyond a defined regime of thought process. So you can help the society much better when, having realized that we have produced so much of anthropogenic materials which are lying here and there unutilized, how to create sustainability concepts around them. Entrepreneurship, creating a marketplace. If I can sell a material which I am producing at my industry as a byproduct, this byproduct could be utilized by another industry as a raw material. So then came in 2015 the United Nations SDGs, and the principle here was that when we should not be leaving anybody behind, and we should take everybody together. So this is the matrix which everybody is aware of. In my opinion, we are taking account of the no poverty, because once you create a marketplace, once you create a blockchain model, once you create a circular economy, I think everybody would be getting employment and poverty should not be there. Zero hunger. One part of the environmental geotechnics, the way I perceive it, is in agriculture engineering, because geotechnics deals with the soils, rocks, groundwater, and what is the influence of the climate on this. So this directly gets linked with the agricultural sciences, and hence we can take care of the zero hunger also. A good health and well-being is of course included in everything. Quality education, gender equality, I always feel, though I have not ticked over here, but if you look at our editorial board, we have several colleagues from different parts of the world, and we are maintaining the gender equality in terms of regional representation, global representation, and so on. And clean water and sanitation happens to be a subject for environmental geotechnologies. Affordable clean energy, this is the age of energy transition, and everybody is talking about clean energy, renewable energy, green energy, and so on. And of course, decent work and economic growth. This also gets linked with the agenda of the journal, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Yes, we are talking about the innovation in the industry to reduce the waste and whatever effluents are coming out, how to make them as a resource. And of course, reducing the inequalities. Once the poverty gets eliminated, we can think about this. Sustainable cities and communities, this is what the agenda of the environmental geotechnics is. Responsible consumption and production. This is also where we are focusing a lot. Climate change action, yes, we are dealing with it as the journal. Life below water, yes, we are into it. Life on land, yes, we are into this. Peace, justice, and strong institutions gets automatically included in our agenda once you are dealing with all these subtopics. And of course, partnership for the goals, which is what we are trying to emphasize upon. So let me now take you through what is the significance of this matrix in terms of the activities of environmental geotechnologists or the journal, and which is taking care of a lot of civil engineering related concepts. But before I delve into this, what comes to my mind is that environmental geotechnology, geotechnics is ever evolving. Very difficult to master this subject because it proves the fact that only change is permanent. So the type of problems which you are coming across every day, the society is facing, we realize that we have our stakes there and we should be stepping up and taking this opportunity, challenge, and try to solve these problems. So in my opinion, the realms of the environmental geotechniques are increasing day by day. And this is where I used to convey my thoughts to IC Ben, particularly who was in charge at that time, that my wish is that to make environmental geotechniques truly transdisciplinary and all sorts of, contributions are welcome. Though the name suggests that this is the environment and geotechnics. So geo is the earth and techniques is the technology. But I'm sure you will be realizing that the way the mankind is exploiting the extraterrestrial space. No wonder tomorrow I'll be approaching Emerald to start a new journal on lunar environmentology because the whole context would be getting changed. So this is just an example of how the realm of environmental geotechnics is changing and ever expanding. This also proves the fact that constantly facing new challenges and situations is the only sign of life and growth. So though we are very young, hardly 10 years, 11 years old, but our ideas are to grow much, much bigger, encompass whatever is happening in the society and the nature and try to study how it can be. I will give you an example of how this subject is promoting multi-authored, multinational collaboration. So this is a journal paper which was published a few years back. And what you'll realize here is this is a very, very state-of-the-art work which my colleagues are doing, where we are collaborating with each other. Knowledge is infinite, expertise is limited. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to create a synergy where diverse expertise can be brought together in writing a paper. So here, if you count that there are 16 authors, and each one of them are quite matured as far as subject is concerned. They have contributed significantly, and hence my thought was to combine their skills for a better comprehensive study on a certain topic. So sharing, because everybody is not blessed to have a very state-of-the-art laboratory. Hope you will be realizing that this subject requires a lot of diagnostics, just like the human body, for which you require pathological examination. In this case, you require a best possible laboratory, which is fitted with the best possible, most sensitive instruments to read out at the parts per trillion, parts per billion level of the contamination. So here the idea was that can we share the resources also? And yes, I think we were successful. Global perspective, what prevails in one continent and what prevails in another continent. If we can assimilate these thoughts, this would be something like, dream coming true. Enhance credibility. One author writing his or her experiences being evaluated by rest of the authors gives a major impact. So I hope you are realizing that the SDG number 17, partnership promotion, for betterment of the society, is getting fulfilled over here. These are the marine sediments. So your SDG number 14 and 13 and 12, 8, 9, 11, they all get covered into this. So funding opportunity also. You will realize that when you bring all these authors on the same platform, funding opportunities grow. International grants which are being announced every now and then can be utilized in a better manner. And I would say that the authors of environmental geotechniques got benefited from these efforts tremendously. I want to give you an example of what happened during COVID-19. One fine morning, I realized that all of us sitting in our homes, and our minds are very active in thinking about what's going to happen due to COVID. So better to channelize this energy in creating something. And then I started writing to all the editors of my journal, and then I said, let's do something. Let's try to share the knowledge of what's happening during COVID-19. So this was a themed issue where leading professionals collaborated from different parts of the world. And look at the titles: geotechnical and geoenvironmental engineering education during the pandemic. Most of the universities were locked down, laboratories were non-accessible, sites where you can get the data was not accessible. The question is, how are you going to profess the subject? Municipal solid waste management under COVID-19, challenges and recommendations. This was a very, very challenging topic on which we worked together. Design of mass burial site for safe and dignified disposal of pandemic. I think there was no precedence of how to take care of the bodies, human bodies, dead bodies, and to bury them, in a dignified disposal way, keeping the religious sentiments in mind. So another paper which we wrote jointly was post-COVID-19 water and wastewater management to protect public health and geoenvironment. Just giving you a sort of a perspective of what we are doing and how wide the canvas is, both in terms of knowledge and the subject. And of course, the environmental geotechniques, challenges and opportunities in the post-COVID-19 world. I hope you'll realize that these are very, very thematic topics on which we have collaborated during May 2021. I would like to bring to your attention the call of papers which are being publicized on the journal interface. The first topic is gas transport in clay materials. And I hope you'll realize this is a real interdisciplinary work and the applications. So sustainable cities, when you talk about the landfill covers, the clay as a mineral, which is becoming scarce every day. So what type of minerals can be utilized so that the landfill gases will not go into the atmosphere? This theme issue is dedicated on something like this. The second one is environmental geotechnology in changing climate, challenges and opportunities. This is where I hope you realize that climate science becomes very, very important, apart from geology, hydrogeology, and all other subjects which I have talked about. And of course, the gaseous flow in low permeable geomaterials, something similar to the gas transport in clay materials, but the themes are different, where we are talking about different types of flow processes, in a gaseous phase. There's another paper on use of biopolymers in environmental geotechniques, which is right now accepting papers. And this also gives an idea about how bio-geo interface is becoming a very, very important thing in this subject. The call for papers on waste generation and management in the Anthropocene epoch, this is what I referred to some time back, being championed by Professor Koda from Warsaw University. So this gives you an idea about, various cross-disciplinary topics and subjects which we are trying to study. Microplastics in soils, this is the most read paper from the journal. Sustainable environmental geotechnics classes for the green economy, circular economy, we are talking about over here. Assessment of the remediation techniques for different types of environmental situations. I'll stop over here, and your questions and your suggestions and your guidance will definitely assist us in our endeavors. So please feel free to share your thoughts with us. I'll be very happy to incorporate them. And this is a typical posture for saying namaskar. Namaskar means greetings. And in the background, you see the lotus flower, which is resembling the Indian philosophy, Indian science, Indian knowledge. And thank you very much for your kind attention. So Disha, I have finished my talk here.
Yes.
And I wanted to give more time for interaction and feedback so that we can grow much better. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Professor Singh, for that enlightening presentation. To see the evolution of civil engineering and how your passion and knowledge has come out in the form of environmental, geotechniques journal, and how SDGs have really been helping in shaping the journal itself. So wonderful to see all of that. Now I invite my colleague Catherine to post the journals to both the speakers.
Hi, everyone. Now I'm going to start with the questions and answers. My first question is for Professor Singh. Could you please elaborate on a specific example of how geotechnical engineering, in particular, can contribute to sustainable infrastructure development and resource management?
So sustainability in civil engineering is starting from the materials, right? Because unless you have the materials, you cannot talk about the infrastructure. Most of the research is being done on the neo materials, and particularly the materials which are coming out from the industrial and municipal waste facilities. So many of our fellow researchers and students and academics and industries are working in this area, how to utilize all this material, which is anthropogenic material, to create infrastructure material. That is the first thing. Second thing is a lot of research is to be done in understanding the process of creation of soils out of this material, which is again my very close topic of research, where we are trying to create artificial soils. Many countries do not have soil, island nations, but they want to expand. How would you do this? So think of the situation where some countries earlier they were having soil, they used to export. Then came the fly ash and other industrial products which were exported. And now the situation is that we are looking for more and more material. How to create this material, new materials. A lot of research is to be done. Then how to do a sort of a, biologically enhanced activated soils out of industrial waste, out of municipal waste. So this is another good example of this. And of course, when you talk about the extraterrestrial, no wonder after a few years, many of us will be traveling to different extraterrestrial places. All right, this is what the endeavor is. You like to understand what type of soils are prevailing over there, how these soils were formed, how to do agriculture over there, how to establish the buildings over there. When I was a student, I always used to think how the military camps, scientist camps are being done in Antarctica, North Pole. All right. Now look at this. The context is changing. Now everybody is talking about, lunar mission, Mars mission. What for? We want to understand these planets better. So please expand your imagination, and hope you realize that the sky is the limit for a civil engineer to address these issues. Thank you.
Thank you for answering that question, Professor Singh. My next question is for Mr. Ramster. What role does Emerald Publishing play in bringing the gap between academia and the industry to facilitate the implementation of sustainable engineering solutions?
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yes, please, Ben. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, it's a particular interest of ICE Publishing and also Emerald Publishing. So it's a perfect match for the ICE Publishing unit, which is 36 journals, and also the wider ICE, the wider Emerald Publishing business of more than 300 journals. For ICE Publishing, it originates from our founder. So I think I've got some echo of my voice. ICE is 200 years old, and it began with engineers meeting in central London to talk about the topics of the day. And so there is a strong industry theme at the institution, and that has been carried into its journals. So if you have journals where it's not 100% academic research, it is applied research, or it is co-authors, academics co-authoring with industry, then you can see how those things can be applied practically to the UN SDGs and to combating some of the challenges that society has that the SDGs represent. So engineers are very interested in solving problems. They like to solve problems, and so engineers, whether they're in industry or academia, like to, as well as solving problems, they like to influence policy. And if you publish in a journal that's read by industry and academia, then you can influence the built environment and influence policy. And our authors are particularly pleased if their papers not only get academically cited, but also get cited by policy documents. So, for example, government agencies like in the UK, the Environment Agency, but you will have in your region of the world, your government authorities as well. I hope that answers it to some extent.
Thank you for that. I have another question for you. Are there any upcoming initiatives of ICE that specifically can focus on emerging trends or innovative approach in engineering for sustainable development?
Yes. So all of our journals, all of our editors, like Professor Singh and advised by their editorial board, will talk about hot topics. And Professor Singh covered several hot topics or current topics, emerging topics, whichever word works best internationally, in their journals. So part of the journal editor role is to look into the future 12 to 18 months and to plan covering hot topics. And all of our journal editors do that. We have 40 journal editors across 36 journals, and they will be aware of the research cycle. So in terms of you landing a research grant, that those will be given in your country, planning 10 years in advance. So professors, if you're at an academic institution, they will know what's on the horizon and be able to see what themes are being funded by national funders, and therefore what's flowing into your department. And journal hot topics, themed issues, special issues are a great way to cover those. So Professor Singh showed some calls for papers on his journal webpage. So I would encourage you, whatever Emerald Journal is closest to your area, to visit the journal homepage, and you will see 5 or 6 tabs. And quite often the final tab on the right-hand side is called calls for papers or news, and you should find, hopefully you'll find something there that aligns with your work.
Thank you for answering that question. Now my colleague Rosita is going to continue with the answer and questions.
Hi, thanks, Catherine. We actually have so many questions posed by the participants. Yeah, so I'll just go through a few, and this is for you, Prof. Singh, on the environmental pollution. So this person would like to know your opinion on Japan's discharge of nuclear sewage. How much do you think this is polluting the ocean?
Very pertinent question, very, very sensitive topic. I remember few accidents which have taken place in the human civilization associated with these type of discharges. Tsunami caused, of course. Very difficult topic to address. We have very limited knowledge. There was an instance after such accident, people had contacted me to go for the remediation of the contaminated beach sand. Because when this type of contamination occurs, the beaches get contaminated, and how would you remediate them? So these topics are very relevant. Knowledge is less. We have to collaborate and we should work. So I'm not giving direct answer to this question. You must be realizing it's an infinite area to explore. If you are so much interested, please float a paper, send the abstract to me. I will include the best minds in the world as a co-author for you, and let us learn from that point onwards. This requires great learning. Yes, please. But thank you very much for this question. Yes.
Yeah. And the next one, this one is very short. Is your journal, Environmental Geotechnics, do they accept social sciences sustainable accounting topics?
Yes, very much. No engineering can be done unless it is directed towards the problem solving of the society. So we are very much eager to fulfill these SDGs. The root cause of the problem is when the society gets influenced. I remember one paper I have published in our journal where what happened during Second World War, because of the heavy bombing of a city, what was the implication of that? When, if you remember, and where we had to take some opinion from the legal experts also, because if I want to rehabilitate this area where I know that 40-50 years back there was a heavy bombing and shells are still lying over there which might be unexploded, this is a social problem. Some industrialist has purchased this land. He wants to construct a facility over there. When he constructs a facility, it is going to create some products which are going to be marketed in the country or the world. Look at the chain. So this whole chain gets connected. So most welcome those who are into social aspects, legal aspects, techno-legal aspects, geopolitical aspects. Because as I said, environmental geotechnics realm is expanding. Please help us. Take the lead, write a short abstract, send it to me. and let's go ahead from that point onwards. Most welcome.
Right. Thanks, Prof. Singh. This one's for you, Ben. How can Emerald Publishing's resources and platform further support engineers in disseminating their research? And how do they promote knowledge sharing in this field?
If there's any background noise, my children are going to school and they're doing a lot of shouting, so hopefully that's not coming through in London time. Yeah, I think so. Emerald Publishing organises its promotional activities not by journal. It would be, we have 36 journals, so you can't really have 36 marketing campaigns. It becomes, or 36
Yeah.
36 Twitter accounts. It becomes unmanageable and perhaps just digital spam of tweets on what's now called X. So Emerald Publishing picks missions and sub goals, and I showed a screenshot of one of them, and that's a way to give a topic a broad promotion, and therefore to reach as many minds as possible, to give a topic a louder voice. So we will collect together cross journals. We will collect together articles and books, ebooks on a topic, and present that. And several of those are run each year by my colleague Becky Tor, who has a huge amount of energy, far more energy than I do for promoting it, and she's very good at that. And what we now have with Emerald Publishing is greater resources to give those marketing promotions a louder voice. So while with the Institution of Civil Engineers we were able to pursue best practice, we now have a larger team in Emerald Publishing since our acquisition 1 year ago. And so with the UK marketing team, of which I have access to 3 marketing teams, and the colleagues on this call, we really are able to take the peer-reviewed journal papers, peer-reviewed to a high quality with rigor and thorough peer review. We're able to take those same journal papers now to a much wider audience internationally. So I hope that answers your question for how we can promote engineering research.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ben. We still have time for a few more. Prof. Singh, I am aware that you are doing research on CCS in your lab, CCS, carbon capture and storage. What is the status of the research presently? Also, what is the status of red mud valorization efforts in your state-of-the-art lab? If you can share.
Just started learning, and it's a long way to learn. No shortcuts. Very intricate subject. Concepts are easy, but the question is, how would you demonstrate them happily? Number one, we are trying to do numerical simulations to understand what happens mathematically if I follow all the rules of the subject, concepts of the subject. We are also doing laboratory simulation by conducting experiments, very long-term experiments, how carbon dioxide is going to interact with the geomaterials, which are rocks, which are saturated with brine and so on, because this is one of the pathways to capture, store, retain carbon dioxide, deep saline aquifers. My PhD scholars are working in this area. We are also trying to develop a center of excellence at IIT Bombay in CCUS. Number two, we are first question is, how will you collect the carbon dioxide from the source? How will you clean it? How will you fractionize it? How will you take out the CO2 from the fumes which are emitting all sorts of NOx, SOx gases out of the chimneys? All right, big challenge. How will you collect it? How will you store it? How will you create a cryogenic condition? And look at this economics, because not many people are going to spend money on the waste emissions. So everything has to be done in a very, very sophisticated manner, keeping in view the sustainable solutions and risk of leakage, risk of CO2 heating up the containments. Then comes the question of transportation. Then comes the question of injection. Then comes the question of educating the governance. That if you do this type of injections, not much after effects, hazards are going to be felt by the local populace. Very sensitive topics. So we are just taking some baby steps. It makes life very exciting, and all the time you are busy, and then you learn that how to handle these big problems. Another topic is CCU, carbon capture utilization, where chemical engineers have done a lot of good work. And if you want to valorize the industrial waste, which is of extreme pH values, very low pH, very high pH. And then if you remember, I was talking about man-made soils. So can CCU be utilized to neutralize these type of active, hyperactive industrial waste, and we can create good soil which can be utilized for agriculture. These are the research areas in which we are into. It's very exciting topics.
Yeah, very, very exciting. Yeah, so probably we can take another 3 more questions, maybe 2 for you, Prof, and another one for Ben. This one is for you, Prof. In my PhD, I have worked on seismic site characterization. However, I have desire to work on geoenvironmental engineering. How can I correlate, modify my research area to geoenvironmental engineering and sustainable development goals?
Please do not change your research area, because we are looking for the top, seismologists, top guys who can help me in studying post-injection, what type of tremors are going to cause, what type of induced seismicity I can create, how to stop it. This is where we can again interface. We can again work together. So the moment injection starts, we have to monitor that there should not be any induced seismicity. And there I require experts like you who are going to tell me that your injection process is safe and go ahead. Nothing is going to happen to the geoenvironment. So I hope you can realize that that's what I was telling you, that geoenvironmental engineering is such a big domain. It's very difficult to say that I am not working in this area, because everybody is directly or indirectly involved in this area. It's a realization. So I think I have created a good topic for you where you can contribute to us, our activities, and then create norms so that the government is satisfied that you are not going to induce any hazard because of this. When you do CCUS, chances are that carbon dioxide might come into water bodies, and it may adulterate, it may contaminate water, drinking water. This also has to be safeguarded. It may also activate faults. I hope you are realizing. So this is where I require the best possible geologists, structural geologists, who can help me that where I should be injecting CO2 so that faults do not get opened. Look at this. The domain is infinite, as I said.
Yeah, hope that answers Aniket Desai. So do not change your research area, but yeah. Move on to that. This one is for Ben. It's on the how does Emerald Publishing envision the future of engineering for sustainable development, and what are the steps the company is taking to contribute to this vision?
So we have a partnership with our experts. So in terms of our content, it really is a partnership in the fact that we bring publishing expertise and marketing expertise to the table, but we are very clear that we are not the subject experts. So we will partner with our editors, and we have 800 editorial board members across our journals to choose topics. And so I suppose in terms of the future, from a technical point of view, we will be led by our experts, and our job is to help them produce. It's a shared goal to produce the highest quality product we can. In terms of a company, Emerald Publishing has a corporate strategy to support the 3 Ps, and while ICE supported the 3 Ps, it wasn't core strategy, where at Emerald Publishing it really is. So people, planet and prosperity is a core part of our business as a publisher, and that's quite unusual. New recruits, new colleagues will remark upon the fact that they have heard about the 3 Ps, but they didn't actually expect to be asked to go out and volunteer for a day on company time, which is sometimes a bit surprising. So I was litter picking in my children's playground during working hours on a Wednesday, and was a bit surprised, though it was a pleasant surprise to be doing that. But in terms, as well as staff volunteering, there are an awful lot of activities at a corporate level, ranging from looking at how we invest our company pension right through to influencing the suppliers that we work with to have a sustainability policy, right down to what staff, individual responsibility for staff. So yes, it goes from our the content, our articles, our experts choose, right through to what we do as a business.
Right. Thanks, Ben. So maybe one final question for Prof. Singh. The challenges for environmental protection and restoration are very huge. Many novel technologies and policy interventions are required, which is in the coming years will require mid-course correction. How do you foresee the mid-course corrections in technologies and policies in an economic manner, and its implementation in a democratic setup?
Well, I think I am not qualified enough to answer this question. But yes, I can give you a homework. The person who has asked this question, please lead this mission. Because one part of the environmental geotechniques is restoration and rehabilitation of monuments. And particularly in India and Southeast Asia, there are many caves which were done during 2,000-3,000 years back. And there is a dedicated group of people who is working on understanding the type of construction materials, plasters, which were used at that time, which have not deteriorated so far. Now, why I'm linking it with this, your question, the policy should be how to stop, the utilization of the material, which is ultimately going to deteriorate in no time. That is the policy number one. Number two is there should be another policy from where to create the materials like what our ancestors used 2,000 years back. Okay. Third thing is how to market it, how to produce them in the bulk. A lot of research is required, a lot of understanding is required. This would be, again, under the realm of anthropogenic materials, which environmental geotechnology professes. Long way to go again for the question which you are asking, but my suggestion is please volunteer yourself, come out with a theme paper, create policies, understand what are the policy gaps, how to create the materials of your choice so that environment cannot deteriorate them. Another thing, I will take this opportunity to convey my another thought. Most of the parts of the world, unfortunately, are under the threat of extreme destruction. You are seeing what's happening in some parts of the world. I'm sure as a civil engineer, my mind really thinks most of the time what can be done to take care of these nations which are just on the verge of extinction. How are you going to resurrect these nations? How are you going to recreate these nations? From where you will bring the material? What are you going to do with this material which has got contaminated because of the heavy shelling, heavy ammunition, explosions, fire? How are you going to clean it up? Imagine. Daunting task. So I'm sure, are you realizing or not that, see, there has to be a dedicated effort from different parts of the world. Scientists should come together, technocrats should come together, administrators should come together, try to solve this problem. Volcanic eruption, everywhere you are seeing volcanic eruption, the whole economy of the world gets disturbed. I hope you realize. Aircrafts cannot navigate. Population has to be displaced. Huge losses, earthquake, landslides, tsunamis, hurricanes, just name it, floods. Somewhere you have droughts. The challenges are these. These are all not only the pollution, these are the climatic situations for which now we have to come out with some solutions, some guidelines. So I'm very sorry to not answer your question. As I said, I'm not much qualified, but yes, I'm learning. See, when a paper comes to me, I learn, I read that paper, I understand what these authors are trying to say. And then my job is to put them in touch with the right guys to expand. We do a lot of hand holding. We don't reject papers unless they are very, very substandard. So what we try to do is, as the mandate of ICE was and as the mandate of Emerald is, we try to handhold colleagues. We try to give them a lot of ideas. We try to put them in the right groups and so on. So please feel free and keep on giving us such ideas so that we can grow much better. Thank you very much.
Very good point. Thank you so much, Prof. Singh, and thank you, Ben, for all the answers to all the questions. I shall now pass the session to Amy.
Okay, thank you for all your insightful question and active participation. We hope you find this webinar informative and inspiring. Special thanks to our speakers, Ben Ramster and Dr. Singh, for sharing their expertise and perspective with us. On behalf of Emerald Publishing and the entire organizing team, we thank you for joining us today, and we hope this webinar has sparked new ideas and conversation about how engineering can contribute to a more sustainable future. This concludes our webinar, and I wish everybody has a wonderful day and wonderful weekend. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.